Hi, I'm Bill Hodges, and this is Spotlight on Government. And today we have an old friend coming back to the set, Tom Scott, Tampa City Councilman. Tom, good to have you back.
Well, thank you. Thanks for inviting me back.
Well, I haven't had you back since you've been so busy. I haven't had you back since you were a BOCC person.
That's right, or at the Board of County Commission. That was in 2006 when I left November.
Well, that was our loss.
Well,
I am not a great believer in, our listeners have heard me say this before, in term limits, because I just don't think they're effective.
well, you know, as I said to people all the time, is what you lose is the historical knowledge or the institutional knowledge, you know, and the experience. And so there's the potential of having a new board without having any real experience there. And so as a result of that, you know, you, especially in Tallahassee, you know, you leave everything to the lobbyists and to the staff and that sort of thing, you know.
Well, that's not good, but it was Tampa's gain to have you on the city council.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's good to be a part of the city of Tampa. And as you very well know, we kind of reorganized yesterday, and I was selected as chairman again of the Tampa City Council, and I look forward to working with the city council and the mayor. We have a strong mayor form of government.
You know, a lot of people have heard the name Tom Scott. In fact, you had to live under a rock not to have heard the name at least. But who is Tom Scott? What do you... City council is not a full-time job, although I imagine you spend a lot of time down there.
Yeah.
What is your full-time job?
Well, I've been pastoring. I've been pastoring 34th Street Church of God for 29 years.
Really?
29 years I've served as the pastor of 34th Street Church of God over in the Jackson Heights, Ybor City area. And I love what I do. I love preaching on Sundays and teaching on Wednesdays, and I love visiting people, and that's one of my first loves.
Wow. What kind of educational background do you have going into the ministry?
Yeah, I have, well, my home is Macon, Georgia. I came out of Macon, Georgia.
Okay.
Went to Mercer University, University of North Florida, BA in Criminal Justice, went on to Assemblies of God, Biblical Literature, MA in Biblical Literature, Doctor of Divinity from the Southern California School of Ministries. And so
it's Dr. Tom Scott.
Well, I like Tom better.
Or the Reverend Doctor.
Yeah, but I like Tom better.
Well,
right.
we all like Tom.
Yeah. So that's the kind of background I have in terms of my education and my involvement from the religious aspect, and from the political aspect. People always ask, well, how you get to be a pastor and a politician? And I always tell them, well, two P's.
It's a very narrow line, isn't it?
Yeah. You know, one start with a P as a pastor, other P was a political politician. But at the same time, it comes back to being able to have good morals, good ethics, and believe in what you say,
well,
and tell the
that
truth.
In politics, and in religion, by the way.
That's true. And always tell the truth. Be truthful. It may not be popular, but I think people respect you more when you tell the truth, and I think people can live with that.
Well, you know, I've often said when I die, I want forgiveness. Because I'm sure when I walk through the world that I cause a wake, and occasionally I might swamp a boat or two.
Yeah.
But it's unintentional for the most part.
Yeah, well, we all do, and we all have to ask for forgiveness, and we have to learn to forgive each other. That's the thing about it. You know, I think that's come with life.
Speaking of that, you've been pastoring for 29 years. What about Tom's personal life?
I'm married. I've been married for 34 years. This August the 2nd, will be 34 years. I have 3 children, all grown, and I have 10 grandchildren. I know I look young, but I do have 10 grandkids. But I enjoy it. I love them.
And what is the lovely lady's name that you're married to?
Marva Scott. Marva Laster Scott. In fact, listen, she is a triplet. I am a twin.
Really?
Yes. And my son he had twin boys.
Wow.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is. and the church benefits, you know, I've always thought that was a pretty good deal for most churches. They hire a pastor and get the either husband or wife, as it turns out in today's world,
right,
as somebody that supports them all the time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
She's probably worked pretty hard in that church for the last 29 years, too.
For the last 24 years, she served as the principal of our private school. We have
a
private
school. You have a private school that goes with it?
Yeah, King's Kid Christian Academy. And so she served as the principal the last 24 years of that school.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you really have a varied, wide experience
Yes.
With education, with ministry, and with law and background. There's a lot of neat things you bring to the job.
Yeah. Lot of educational background, a lot of experience, as you very well know, as I said earlier, about just dealing with people. Part of the political area is learning how to relate to people and communicate to people. And so by doing that on a professional basis as a pastor, as a clergyman, it's easy to use that experience also in the political arena. So it's been very helpful.
Would seem to me that being a pastor too, you have pretty much your ear to the ground. You're talking with people on a daily basis about the things that affect them most.
Yeah. You're talking with people on a daily basis. You're counseling with people that what's going on in their lives, or, what's happening with them. You talk with people out in the community from the political sense, what's going on with them, and how they see issues, and what are some of their challenges. So you're right, from a very broad perspective, you have the opportunity to meet people on one-to-one in group settings and talk to them from a religious perspective as well as a political perspective.
And in a trusting perspective. As
Yes.
a pastor,
Yes.
they'll
Yes.
tell you things they might not tell other people straight.
That is very true. That is very true, and I found that to be so in both areas.
What do you think are the biggest issues that the city of Tampa faces over the next year? I know we've got 1-year plans, 5-year plans, 15-year plans, but what are the fires that we have going on right now? And this show will be shown over a whole month's time, so some of those fires may flare up, burn out, whatever.
Yeah.
If we get some real hard rains here shortly, the water thing will go away.
Yeah, that is true. But we've been in a drought the last 3 years, believe it or not. The real big issue, right, as you very well know, if you read the paper today or, watch news, you know that the mayor has come out and said that we want to hold raises, not give any raises for 2010 to any of the employees of the city of Tampa, given the fact that there's going to be a $52 million deficit, $52 million shortfall. 2 years ago we had a $16 million. Last year we had a $22 million, and this year we're facing a $30 million. And in 2010 we're facing a $52 million deficit.
Wow! And can't keep spending at that rate.
No, you cannot. You cannot. And unfortunately, the economy has had a major impact on all government. The state of Florida, $6 billion shortfall. Hillsborough County Commission facing a $110 million shortfall, and the city of Tampa $52 million shortfall. And so
wow.
big deficits all around.
Somebody said, and I really like the idea, we're not in a recession, we're in a reset.
Yeah, that's about the sign of it.
Complete reset of time.
Yes.
That we really have to look at it, and we can't say, we're going to go back to the good old days, which were just 5 years ago, of boom, because it's probably not going to happen. So we've got to come up with some plans to stay from where we are to a prosperity, but maybe not like we used to have.
Yeah. Bill, we're going to have to look at our whole system. The state going to have to look at how the income tax, or not income tax, but the way we tax, or the property tax. They're going to look at the whole tax structure, revenue, because we rely heavily on ad valorem. Well, as you very well know, the property value is down, so that brings your income ad valorem down, and of course the tax that we charge for purchase items, well, that's down because tourism is down. So the legislature have to look at how we're going to address this whole tax issue, so also that it will help the local government as well.
Yeah, it's really a killer with the tourism being down over this winter.
Yeah.
Because we can't even make that up till next year.
That is very true.
I had hoped when the gasoline dropped down into that $2 range that we would pick up more people coming down. Maybe we did, but not significantly enough. No,
it's not enough, given the fact that the state is facing a $6 billion shortfall, and also, again, the county and the city, and we do get revenue from sales tax. So as a result of that, everything is down because of the economy, because the tourists is not coming in like we once had them a few years ago, as you very well know. Property tax is down. A few years ago it was up. And so as a result of that, we are facing enormous challenges, all levels of government. Of course, I'm kind of a moderate. I swing back and forth a lot of things. And I can see where asking employees to, look, hey, you're not going to get a raise next year, just understand that, is tough. But it also is tough for the
200 and some odd that you're going to have to lay off if those raises go through?
Right. The question becomes, though, for many of our employees and for the unions, is it important for you not to get a raise so that all of your co-workers and your colleagues can have a job to be able to provide for their family? Am I willing enough? Am I the kind of person that's willing to give of myself, consider of my co-worker, and say, I'd much rather forego a raise in order that everybody can keep their job and take care of their family and provide for their family? That's the big question.
I think a lot of the people at the bottom are looking up at the top and seeing these huge $1 million bonuses and $300,000 bonuses and this and saying, wait a minute. I'm being asked to cut my pay or to stay where I'm at, and these bonuses are coming through, and these big spending is coming through. It's really hard for them, and I understand that.
Yeah, but they have to look at, and that's true. I agree. I mean, I think the country is outraged by all these huge bonuses from AIG and all these companies, Wall Street, all the car automobile dealers and all of these, the banks. We are outraged by that. But keep in mind, that was private industry that gave all those big raises in many instances, you know.
Until they got federal funds.
Until they got federal funds,
and all of
right.
a sudden, like AIG, if the federal funds hadn't went in there,
right.
AIG, like Lehman Brothers, would have failed,
that
period.
It
would have
been
been gone, and nobody would have got a paycheck.
And that is true.
To say that we're abrogating a contract, no, we propped the company up, bought an interest in it, and now we have a chance to look at it. So, I mean,
right.
I'm for the law, and I'm for honoring contracts and that, but that company would have failed.
I agree. I think we all agree. When you look at what happened with this whole stimulus package, I mean, even banks were giving money instead of them, you know, lightening up on credit, giving out credit, lending credit. That didn't happen. They went and bought more banks and that sort of thing, you know. So all the way around, we have to look at on the federal level, they have to look at all those issues, look at all those problems, and correct them.
I would like to get some of our federal legislators on the program, and I'm going to.
Great.
It won't be long before we'll have them on there, because I have some serious questions.
Yeah.
I remember a time in Ohio where the bank commissioner said that if a bank fails, look for fraud because
yeah.
it's too profitable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, banks that can only go in a county, that's all they could do, now could buy any bank in the state.
That's right.
And then they could buy any bank anywhere, and they got so big.
Right.
And government has done that same thing.
Yeah.
When we moved here in 2000, Christmas of '99,
mm-hmm.
when we moved here, the city budget and the budget for the county was a certain number.
Right.
And then we had the explosive growth in taxes, and they just like big old hog. and I don't blame them either, because all of us got both feet in the trough.
Yeah. Well, you know, during that time, during what we call the prosperity time, I was on the county commission for 10 years. And those 10 years, we rolled back the tax millage for 10 years. In fact, before I got on county commission, they had already rolled it back about 2 previous years. So the county commission have always rolled back their millage and given back a tax break. And as well, the county commission, in my opinion, probably one of the local government have done well, because also they had a good reserve set up. So like last year, they went into their reserve to kick in $80 million so they wouldn't have to lay off anybody. So from that standpoint, I think the county commission has done well on past years, yes.
Well, you know, interesting enough, because you sat on both, let's talk about water.
Okay.
Because you were on the BOCC and now you're on the Tampa City Council.
Right.
And we're all stressed on water. What do you see that we might have done different to keep us from falling into this position? And what do you see are the things that, from both the City Council and from the BOCC, because you have that vast experience on both,
right.
What can we do? What would have stopped us from it? Where are we going with it?
Well, I think one of the important issues for us to understand is that right now, when I came on county commission, you had the water wars going on. I don't know if you were here during those times, but in 1998, you had the water wars going. We was going back and forth to court between Pinellas, Pasco, Hillsborough. In 1998, we signed an interlocal agreement where we all came together and brought in Tampa Bay Water to become the official agent. Okay. So Tampa Bay Water now is the official representative for the region. Okay. However, the Tampa Bay Water this past week issued an order that we are now going to tighten up on the water restriction. The city of Tampa, because they have their own supply of water through the Hillsborough River, also tightened up a little bit. I would say their regulation was stronger or stricter, because Tampa Bay Water will allow you to use your sprinkler system 1 day a week. The city says, no, you can only water 1 day a week, but it must be by hand. You can't use your irrigation system. And so there's a difference between the two different governments. But I will tell you this. We've been in a drought the last 3 years, and therefore it's important for all of us to learn to conserve. I mean, as Charlie Miranda often said, instead of taking a 30-minute shower, maybe take a 15-minute shower or a 10-minute shower, you know.
I'd come out like a prune after 30 minutes.
yeah, well, some people take long showers. Or as Councilwoman Sarcena said on yesterday, she went to a conservation workshop. They're talking about when it rains, take barrel and put it up under your gutters and take that water and save it and use that water for irrigation. So there are a number of things that we're going to have to do when we look at conserving water, because if we move to the point where we are now with the city of Tampa, where the Hillsborough River now, or the reservoir is down at about, I think it's 18 feet. As we get down to 15, that means that we're in serious trouble. We will not be able to pump water to certain parts of the city. It means also we may not be able to meet needs of the hospital and other areas that extend critical care. So we're in a situation that's very critical now. And so it behooves us, all of the citizens, to look at ways how to conserve water.
The thing I get when I talk to people about this particular subject is, if we can't provide the water for the people who are here, why are we still approving building projects? And I don't have an answer for that.
Well, you have to look to the state legislature. The state legislature saying that we can't deny building permits based on the fact of the water issue alone, you know. So when you look at that,
isn't that a public safety issue?
Well,
I would think water would be a public safety issue.
It is, right.
And if you look at environmental, that's it's one of the great environmental things.
In fact, and you're absolutely right, because on yesterday we had what you call emergency ordinance passed because of water restriction or because of shortage of water. The public safety issue. And you're absolutely right. It's affecting the environment. It's affecting the quality of drinking water. It's affecting, you know, every area of life. So you're absolutely right.
I was looking at several of the county commissioners, not you in particular, when you were there, but many of them, their campaigns were just financed almost completely by builders or by building type people. And it just seems that the builders just had too much influence.
Yeah, they get heavily, developers get heavily because they're the ones that are doing the building and, you know, and bringing in all of the new growth and, you know, trying to meet the needs of the new growth. And so they're always before the county or the city, before the county commission for zoning issues, land zoning, rezoning, you know, your comp plan amendments and all of that. So as a result of that, you find them heavily involved in supporting candidates who they believe will vote in their interest. Somewhat, I guess, like lobbyists in Tallahassee or in Washington. You
exactly.
know, they give heavily to campaign because they want those persons who they believe will either vote for the issue or at least hear them be fair in regards to the issue.
Well, leaving water then and moving on, what are some of the other challenges that you see for the city of Tampa, and maybe even for the region in the next year?
I think transportation, that you heard the mayor lead the charge on light rail and transit in Hillsborough County, city of Tampa. With the growth that has taken place, and the growth that is projected for 2050, okay, here again you're talking about a lot of growth, and movement in the city and in the county is going to be extremely important. I think you already know, if you live in New Tampa, you know already it's very difficult trying to get in and out of New Tampa, okay? Certain parts of the city, certain parts of the county, coming in and out of Brandon has been very difficult.
I came out of Sun City this morning, and thank God I got off at Route 60, because after Route 60 it was a total traffic jam going north on I-75.
That's exactly right. I mean, all down in that area where the growth, in fact, all down around Sun City, a lot of your growth in the county, that's where it's going, has taken place. And so as a result of that, you know, you got to look at how we're going to address the issue of transportation, how we're going to address the issue of transit, how are we going to address the issue of light rail. And so I think in 2010, I understand the County Commission voted this week to do a referendum, put a referendum on the ballot, raising that question to tax ourselves by up to 1 cent for transportation. So that's
Commissioner Sharp is very buoyant on that. He really is working hard on that particular one, I know. And I think that there's a multiplicity of things here. Light rail is great as long as when I get to wherever it is, I can get something that gets me where I need to go from there.
That's why light rail only can serve a portion of the need. You got to look at, here again, transit, you got to look at trails, you got to look at bikes, you got to look at Heartline. Heartline has to produce more routes and more frequency of bus services. And so all of that becomes very important, because with light rail, I don't think you'll be able to do light rail into Brandon or Riverview in Sun City on the first round, on the first tier. So you got to provide more bus service, express services. So you're absolutely right there. So we have to look at that. I need to also say that Ken Hagan, who is the chairman of the Transportation Task Force, that is his brainchild, has done a lot with transportation. As you very well know, a year ago we passed, or we voted and supported $500 million in revenue for transportation.
Well, I love the cities that do have MARTA, BART, all these different things, because it's so easy to get around. If I go to Atlanta, I don't even think about renting a car. I can get on MARTA and bam, I'm wherever I want to go. And they have buses that pick you up when you get to that point. It'll take you somewhere else. And their frequency is wonderful.
Yes.
And if we're going to be a city of the 21st century, we've got to have this kind of thing to move people around.
You're absolutely right again. Bill, we are one of the 2 cities that in a metropolitan city that does not have light rail. Detroit, Michigan, and Tampa, Florida. Metropolitan city that does not have light rail.
I would hate to be, I don't want to even be compared to Detroit.
No.
I used to live in Detroit years ago, and I was there not too long ago, and it was so depressing to go down Monroe Avenue. It was just, and Jefferson, it's just, it makes you cry.
Yeah, Detroit has gone through major changes over the last several years, and with the automobile industry, what they're going through hasn't had a major impact on them as well. You're absolutely right. But in terms of light rail, and
well, let's not compare Tampa with Detroit. We don't even put it in the same.
That's fine with me. But we just.
But we're one of the only 2.
That's absolutely right. Absolutely right.
That's sad.
Yeah. I had opportunity to go to Charlotte last year, look at their light rail system. I've been to San Diego.
I understand that's quite something.
It's great. I mean, I was very impressed. In fact, Charlotte got the city of Tampa or Hillsborough County share of the federal dollars because we didn't move forward in 2003 with the referendum. And so as a result of that, Charlotte was next in line, and so they got Hillsborough County's share of the federal dollars.
I understand they have a mayor up there that really pushed hard for it, and it was, we'll build it and they will come.
Yeah.
And by golly, they have.
They have done that, and then they did a second referendum, I think last year, and it overwhelmingly passed, I think by 70-some% of the voters. And so, you know, they're doing extremely well with light rail, and people really enjoy it there.
A couple of times, a number of times, Phyllis and I have thought about maybe going up to Clearwater. But I'm not going to fight the battle of driving from Sun City through Brandon, through the city, and then around the airport and over to Clearwater. But if there had been a rapid transit that we could have jumped on, bang, and been there, we'd have probably gone over there to the beaches.
You're right. And that's coming. I believe that the voters will support the referendum, and I think that would be the best thing that could happen to this whole region that we're in, the Tampa Bay region that we're in. As you just pointed out, jump on a rapid transit system, and there you are, you're over there without getting stuck in traffic.
Well, you know, at a 1 cent increase in the tax, if you know, I don't want to see all this money dribble through fingers.
I agree.
I want to see it actually go into what? That's important. You know, Tom, what I'd like you to do now is just to address the people of the city of Tampa and Hillsborough County, and just take a minute or so to tell them what your vision is for the next year, 2 years while you're in office.
Well, thank you. Bill, I will say to the city of Tampa and to the residents of Hillsborough County, first of all, I think we have some challenges over the next 2 years. But even though we have challenges, there are many opportunities that we have. such as, again, the whole issue of light rail. I think that's very important when we talk about growth, we talk about tourism. People are going to the city now where they can get around without having to rent cars. And so I think it's very important if we're going to continue to be a viable city, continue to attract tourists to our community. I think transportation, mass transit, light rail becomes a huge component of that. And so I want us to be mindful of that. Second, I think it's important for us to look at a city that is growing, that is expanding, and that, as some people said, the next great city. Well, I've been hearing that for the last 29 years. When are we going to be the great city? Okay? And so therefore,
the city on the hill.
Yeah, I think that with what is happening now, with what the mayor has done with the History Center, the museum, and all that, we are on our way. We just got to continue that. We got to continue to provide jobs, bring in economic development for people who are now losing their job. We got to find a way how to create jobs. Here again, high-tech jobs, you know, and things of that nature. When we look at our city and we look at Hillsborough County, we have some large and huge challenges. But I'm a firm believer that when the people of this community, the people of Hillsborough County come together, put their minds together, we can accomplish anything. I believe that about America. I believe that about the people of this great United States. I believe that about the people of this community. We are people who are strong and resilient.
Tom, I believe that too. This is not a recession, it's a reset. And I'm so excited that you've been on the program. You will come back, right?
I will come back whenever you invite me to come back.
Well, I'll be talking to Belinda and get you back on the program. By the way, I want to tell you, that Belinda in your office, Belinda Allen, is one of the most conscientious, follow-up kind of people that I've ever dealt with, and I really appreciate her.
Well, thank you.
Tom, thank you for being here. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Spotlight on Government. I'm Bill Hodges. You're unique, you're special, and you're great. Tell yourself so often because you are, you know, and we'll see you on the next Spotlight on Government. And again, Tom, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
You've been a great guest. We'll see you again very soon.
How you doing? I just want regular, no sugar today.
You got it.
Thanks. Hello.
Hi.
Did you eat that whole thing today?
Yeah.
Yes. Hi,
how you doing?
She's getting big, huh?
Big. Yeah, she is big. Hey, haircut.
Yeah.
Looks cute. Come on, let's go. Nice to see you. Thanks a lot.
If only child abuse were this easy to recognize. If you even suspect abuse, call 1-800-4-A-CHILD. All calls are anonymous and confidential. Trust your instincts.